All right. No.
Mike is off.
All right, we're gonna call the meeting to order, Townsend Housing
Might just
Authority.
need to also turn on your volume.
Roll call, please.
1 second.
Courtney Borelli here.
Jack Moran here.
All right, Natalie Call here. Who else?
Well, we also have with us Allison and Jody.
Okay. All right, the meeting is now being recorded, and we'll just do the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We want to thank all our service members and their families for supporting us and, being there for our country. All right. Chairman, additions and deletions to the agenda. Do we have any?
I'm sorry, do you want me to display the agenda?
Yes, please.
I need permission,
Commission Hartley. Thank you.
screen sharing.
Hey, hold on 1 second. I'll see if I can let you in.
All right, thanks.
Okay, which one are you? Sorry,
Right there.
Jack?
Yeah,
this one?
that's me.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to go into the office to do it. Hold on, please.
Well, you do have it up now.
Yeah, I do have it up. Okay, any additions or deletions?
I don't have it yet.
Sorry about this.
That's okay. All right, then we'll go into 2.1, for the steps, Courtney.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll give Hartley a second.
Okay, you should be able to close now. Thank you.
Thanks, Harley.
Yeah.
So I sent you guys an updated tracking sheet, which everybody should have gotten. I updated it with the notes from last time, and we can just run through this. But I'll skip anything that's grayed out for now, just because we don't need to go over that again. But if anybody has anything, just jump in. So the last one I had here is number 3, which is the draft bylaw changes. And
Wait, I just
Yep.
ask, just give me a second, I'll bring it up so everyone can be on the same page.
sure, yeah, I think it's right on the bottom of that email there. That one, yep. So we're on the number 3 there, the blue. And so the last thing we talked about was that there was a committee that was going to be reviewing bylaws. And so if you could give us an update on that, Natalie.
Well, we got together today, we initially started, and we chose chairperson and the vice chair, and they are officially Bill Cadigan and as chairperson and Robert Terrian as vice chair. Again, the discussion was to go over the important, go to the departments and ask what their priorities are. So instead of going through step by step in the bylaws, so you'll be getting an email, departments will be getting an email asking for what their priorities are and what they're looking at, and that should be going out anytime now, really. And we have our next meeting. The bylaw committee is meeting October 30th at 5 p.m. at Town Hall. So that's what I have.
So we should send the bylaws that we had already drafted and had gone to planning with,
Yes.
over to that committee.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be getting an email probably from Sabrina, there shortly, either now, this week or next week. So, because of the October meeting. So yes, any recommendations will be sent to the bylaw committee.
Can I just ask, is everybody on that communication? Would that just be,
It's department heads right now.
So it'd probably go to you.
Yeah, and I'll give it to everybody else.
So I think that, Joe, you might have a copy of the latest bylaw changes too, and Allison, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to see those at all, but since we already have them done, like if you happen to get it, might just be easiest to
Yeah.
distribute that unless anybody has anything to add.
Yeah, if you have any, I'll just get what I have from Jody and then we'll.
is that the ones you reviewed last session?
So I don't think we ever really
Those
formally
reports.
reviewed them with you,
Yeah, okay.
but they are the changes to single family bylaw changes. We drafted some changes to multifamily, and then we added a cluster development bylaw that we are hoping to get. So there's two change sections and then one new one. And we've kind of drafted those and gone through those with the planning board previously with comments. And then we were gonna submit them to town council for review, but we decided to wait since there was a committee being,
Informed.
that we would just hand that to them and they would take that from there.
If I can just be on copy on the
Yeah.
communication, then I can catch up with
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Has been,
No,
Sure.
by all
what the work in
means.
progress is. so to
No
speak.
worries, and I like putting
Appreciate it.
all the information out so they can see it
Sure.
and go from there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
So number 4, which was adopt local guidelines for development applications for the local initiative program. And part of what we talked about last time was that we were gonna talk to the Groton Housing Coordinator a little bit about this. And so I did talk with her, although we never got to this agenda item because we were talking about a lot of other things. And so I think you guys saw, I forwarded you an email that did come from her, and this kind of touches on a few of the other things on here. And so our conversation started with, we were mostly talking about how do we start to set up a mechanism to manage properties should we get some in place, right? And her kind of first initial reactions to that are that it's actually very difficult to do and get funded, which is, I think, a lot of what you guys saw in the email I sent over to you was that they're just, they even in Groton have not found that they have been able to fund projects very well, that they could actually physically keep and manage themselves. Most, like 90% of the projects that they've been able to do have been through tax credit incentives that then go to a developer, and then that developer ends up holding those things for rent still. And so she sent over a lot of really good stuff in there, which is why I kind of forwarded that to you guys, that talked about like what that meant in terms of that tax credit initiative meant and that stuff. But I do think it's worth a conversation, and it might be worth talking to the trust when we have the joint meeting with them about this. So I think it would be worth, and Allison, I think you're also on the trust. I don't know if it would be worth forwarding that email that I sent from Fran to the trust, so that they can also look at that information before we have our joint meeting with them.
Yes, I can definitely share that with them. And I can
Okay.
add it as a topic for the agenda too, if that's helpful.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Yeah.
Great.
So that's basically, I had a 45-minute conversation with her, and we mostly just talked about that. So I didn't get to any of the other stuff yet with her. She's certainly willing to come in and talk to us, but she would like us to kind of give her a better idea of what she wants us to talk about when we get there. And so like just having a first conversation with her, I haven't gotten to the other things that we were going to talk to her about yet.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it'd be worth looking at the material she sent, see if anybody has any questions, thoughts. We'll talk to the trust as well together. And then maybe if we do want to have Fran come back, it seems like it may be helpful to have the trust in on that meeting as well, eventually when we ask her to come. But I think we need more of a more specific agenda for her for when she comes, because I think she's got a lot of information and doesn't want to give us what we don't want or
Right.
already know or things like that.
Yeah, we don't want to overwhelm her with
No.
just, hey, how do you do this?
How do you do? Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So I think we need
Have
to
a
be a
nice
little
process.
bit more strategic about our questions with her, because she is very knowledgeable and is willing to help. I just think we don't want to flood her with, you know, everything. So
Can I ask kind of I was going to bring this up later, but it seems like it kind of relates. Do we have a membership with any associations? There are associations of housing authorities. The
I guess I don't know
NARO, which
the
is a
answer to that.
Massachusetts chapter.
Chaz may know. Jody, I don't know if you've ever heard anything like that, any type of memberships that we would have to anything. I have to say I don't know the answer.
And part of the reason I'm
I
asking.
Sorry,
I-
what,
Yeah.
Well,
I
the reason-
believe I've heard that the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust make mention of some of those memberships, and I know they've been trying to go to a couple trainings here and there, so I can look for more detail on that for you too, and maybe that's even another item to talk about at the joint meeting coming up, and making sure we have an understanding of what memberships are available.
Mhm.
Just, in the interest of getting oriented or sort of sorting
Yeah.
out some of these details, or like, I
Yeah.
think Chaz had a question about how do we do a lottery if we have
Yeah,
to, you know,
yeah,
details like that, you know, I don't know that we have to go it alone.
right.
So I do a little bit of work with the Worcester Housing Authority, and I realize we're not at the scale that they're at, but there are smaller housing authorities that have membership there, and there's at least one association that I'm familiar with.
Yeah,
I don't know if we
Might be
have a
able to help
membership,
us.
and if it's just a
Mhm.
matter of tapping into it, or if we don't, is that something that we would consider?
I think we could use whatever help we could get.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, I love the idea that we're working with a neighbor like Groton, but
Yeah,
you know, we don't want to be a burden to her with
yeah, I mean,
all
they
of
have their
the
own
questions.
things too, right?
Yeah, sure.
They're talking to us as a courtesy, but we don't have, you know, they're
Sure.
not,
We're
they,
aware
they
of the
sit
courtesy.
under, so I didn't know this, but I guess they also are kind of, they're actually kind of packaged with Littleton and Westford,
Oh,
which I
yeah.
didn't realize. So there's kind of a group there, and like, we don't have quite that, you know, those kind of
Sure.
people to rely on right now, the way that they do. And so, yeah, I think that would be helpful if we could find out if we have those. So Allison, yeah, if you do see anything, just, if you could let us know.
Will do.
And I can look more into the one example I'm aware of, and
Yeah. I think we have to find
We
out for
revisit
like if
the-
our region is able to go, because I thought that for some reason we were not able to go to like Worcester, right? Like we couldn't use anything that way. Like we have a certain region that we have to be in, right?
so,
I don't know the answer though. I mean, I
Okay.
could be totally wrong. So, okay. I'm gonna skip 6 because it goes right back to 3. Number 8, which was on the MBTA communities, I just have left this on here in case anybody has any updates. I don't know if anybody has heard anything about this. No.
so I'm familiar with the rule.
Yeah. My understanding was that MRPC and the trust were kind of studying some options, but that was kind of the last I had heard. I believe they're still doing some work on that, but I don't know. I don't know what's happening with it currently. And I don't think they've had another meeting since we last met, so I wasn't able to watch anything to catch up.
At some point, I looked at a listing that has Townsend listed as being
We're
within
small,
compliance.
we're in, yeah,
We're
we
not
are,
out of compliance
Correct.
with the rule.
Right.
So
we're
whatever
like
that's
a
worth.
small adjacent town or something, like
there's only
funny.
like 2 communities that are not in compliance, and we are not one of those.
Well, that's good.
So
start.
I think what it means is we're working on it. And if you said like the MRPC is working with the trust, that's probably sufficient to
Yes, I
indicate
believe
that
so.
we're working on a plan.
Okay, so we'll leave that one on there for now. Number 9 is investigating the feasibility of promoting housing developments on the parcels that are owned by the trust. So as we know, the trust is actively working on that.
Yeah.
And then you can see here, we talked about managing properties, and that's what I talked about with Fran, and which is where I got the note that it may not be that feasible for us. But we should have further discussions about that. So I think it would be great to get an update, you know, on those from the trust when we do meet with them, and maybe we can discuss a little bit more about what we found out with, you know, funding of those and managing. So number 10, which was the tax title properties. So the last update we talked about was that 106 Haynes, 182 Warren, 97 Main, and there was a condo property that were going to go to town meeting for approval to sell, and the funds are likely to go to the general fund. That's just the last update I have from our last meeting on that. I don't know if anybody's heard anything else there.
Yeah, those properties that 106 Haynes, 97 Main, and the condo, those are going to be auctioned on October 27th. And that money, whatever is gained from those auctions, will be going, yes, into the general fund.
Great.
But there's still Warren Road they're hanging on to.
That's the one they wanted to split, Jody?
Yes, they're looking
Yeah.
at potentially having that looked at, surveyed to cut the back lot off and maybe
Yep.
give to the state, and then maybe a habitat house, but that's kind of still up in the air.
Yeah.
But the other 3 properties are being auctioned on Friday, October 27th. Tell everybody you know.
Okay, sounds good.
Does the housing authority have a role in that?
In these, no, not in this. If there's a condition where 182 Warren gets split and there's a possible habitat house, we would be able to get involved in that. But in this case where it's just a property that's being auctioned, there's not really any, especially where the money's going to the general fund, we don't really have any
Gotcha.
much say in that right now. The other thing I think we talked about a while ago was, because Jody had sent us over the list, was like us kind of taking a peek at that list at some point and seeing if anybody, if any of us thought that any of them would be worth, you know what I mean, taking a look at, or seeing if we could get transferred to the trust. I don't know that anybody's had a chance to look at that list. But if anybody ever feels like it and wants to put something on that and just take a look at that list of properties, that'd be great. Okay, number 12 was continue to seek the CDBG funds to preserve and maintain older existing housing stock through the local rehab program. And I think last time we talked, Allison, maybe you were gonna take a look, see if you could find any information on this one.
She
I think she's muted.
trying to unmute?
Unmute.
Oh,
Oh,
Just
There
sorry,
we
come
go.
on.
My mute button was sticking. Apologies. So I had taken a look at the CDBG fund.
yeah.
I've really gotten kind of an overview of it at this point, along with a ton of other grants in town. But it looks like the next round of funding for it will open in March. That's what I'm projecting. It looks like it opened in March last year. So I'm continuing to keep an eye on it, and I'm still diving in to get more detail on it as well.
Okay. When you continue to look at it, could you find out, like, if it opens in March, like if there's anything that we would need to be prepare earlier before March in order to kind of be able to get to be able to put in an application, or anything we need to do with that?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so next one I have was to produce educational information around the ADUs and the housing options throughout the community. And then we started to talk about the lottery situation here. And then this is when you mentioned that we may not be large enough to warrant a lottery. So I don't know if you've heard anything else, Jack, on that?
I haven't.
Okay, so I meant to also talk with Garden about this, but like I said, we didn't even get there yet. But it might be worth some more investigation on this front. And then number 17, we were talking about creating a predictable funding source for the trust. And then one of the things we've been talking about is CPA. And last update we had was there was no current action, as another group in town was formed to move it forward. So I don't know if anybody has any updates on that. Okay. And then number 18 is develop and maintain relationships with local and regional developers to pursue collaborative initiatives for housing production. So the one thing I will say in the email from Fran, if you saw, is she gave us a whole lot of developer names in there. And one in particular, she mentioned a couple times when we were on the phone that she thought was really a good option. So I would take a look at that email again on some of those. And maybe people can take a look at some of those developers, and then when we come in with the joint meeting, maybe we can have a little bit of discussion around that too.
Question on that. So one of my to-dos from the last meeting with the trust is to reach out to at least one developer from, a development they liked in Littleton and kind of ask them for feasibility. I think they're looking most at Southborough Road right now.
Yeah.
But maybe just even, talking about that and plans to do that at the joint meeting too, to make sure we're not like duplicating efforts, like if I'm doing it for the trust, but I'm happy to do that for you guys too.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately they're going to get developed through the trust, right? We're just trying to kind of help with where we can. So I think if they've given you a task to reach out already, I think that makes sense. But it might not be a bad thing for us just on the back end to be looking at alternates, right? Like, should something else happen, we have some other things that or other people that we've been thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the more relationships we're building, and the more we're able to build those, it's only going to help both the authority and the trust. Just kind of wanted to make sure you guys were aware too.
Yeah. Allison, I had sent, and I might have had Veronica's incorrect email. I had sent her a couple of things on a little development that's down in Concord that's really, really nice too, and a developer name. And so I'd love to just, maybe if I can send that to you, you could get that to the trust, because it's also kind of similar, I think, to that one in Littleton that they're talking about. And they have some information on their website too about who the developer is, and it's a really nice one. So
Yeah, that sounds great. I will be sure to share it with her.
okay.
Can I just ask a question about, do we have a sense of scale? I kind of feel like if we're looking at developers, that has something to do with who's really.
So I believe what they've been talking about for Southborough Road, Allison, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you might have heard more, it was, and it kind of related to the cluster development idea, is that it was like maybe a pocket neighborhood, or not like a large development, but more of like a smaller pieces. But I don't know if that's still right, and I haven't like listened to their latest meeting. So but I believe that's what they were talking about, was something that seems more like smaller individual houses almost, but is on much smaller lots. They're almost like condoized,
Sure,
right? That's
sure.
like a
Townhouse arrangement style.
yeah, exactly. Not
Maybe
incredibly large, but
A dozen.
I don't know how
24?
many, and I
Okay.
don't know with Southborough Road, like I think the question is, what is feasible? How many units
Right,
is
yeah.
feasible to put on it? I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're still working through the number of units they want to put on there and trying to determine what's feasible for the size of the lot and so forth. But you're right, Courtney, they were talking about like ranch style 1 to 2 bedrooms,
Yeah.
it sounded like. So very much in line with your thoughts.
Yeah. And that is what I have on this HEP goals.
All right, so we're at 2.2 then, as far as the minutes and contact information. Review with Allison on 2.2. Allison, do we have any information? Any correspondence?
Can you bear with me one second?
I think I don't think it's correspondence. I think it's,
I'm sorry.
no, it's all right. I think, because correspondence is 2.4, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So for 2.2, I really just wanted to make sure I know what you guys are looking for. I know we talked about it a little bit last month, but please forgive me. It felt like my first day because I'd maybe had my laptop for about an hour. So I think in the last month, I hope I'm getting up and running a little bit more. I just wanted to make sure, like, I know the agenda, Jody was kind enough to send out. I did prepare that one, so I wanted to make sure that's what you're looking for. I'll plan to get the minutes out to you in between meetings and ask for any feedback, get a final copy out with the agenda when it's sent out. Make sure like I know how to expect you guys getting agenda items to me and so forth. Just wanted to make sure I'm aware of how to support you best. I hear loud and clear you'd like things printed out before the meeting, so I'll make sure to print the agendas next time.
Sorry. We're all
Yeah.
not very good at printing things
Mhm.
around here. So,
Yeah. And sometimes I just need a friendly reminder that things need to be printed. My last role, I was remote, so I got used to working paperless, which, but I'm happy to print them for you. I'll be sure to do that next time.
I would say if it's just like, if we're specifically in person, just the
Yeah.
agenda would be nice to have,
Okay.
printed. Cause I think after that, I don't want to be like just wasting a lot of paper,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Sounds
And
good.
thank you for taking the minutes. I actually was trying to keep minutes myself, and you did a much better job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm not always good at writing while I'm speaking either, like minutes, so yeah, I hear you on that one.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then as far as contact information, what kind of information do you need there, Allison?
I just wanted to make sure, I think I drafted this up when my outgoing email wasn't working well for me, so I was kind of wondering why I felt like I couldn't get a hold of folks, but as long as you guys are fine with me emailing you, I think that works.
Yeah,
Yep,
okay.
that went really well, actually. All right. 2.3 is our meeting with the trust on November 16th at 7 PM.
Yep, I'm
So that's
good for
awesome.
that.
Yeah, good for that.
And that is confirmed now, so that's all set.
Okay.
Did anybody hear from Chaz if he's confirmed for that day?
He is.
Awesome,
Okay.
I'm actually not 100%,
okay,
Okay.
but I don't want to hold it up, so
okay.
please don't
Mhm.
not do the meeting then. If that works for everybody else.
As long as we have three of us,
Yeah.
we'll be okay.
Yep. All right, any correspondence, Allison?
No,
Okay. That was easy. Approved meeting minutes from 9/7/2023. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes
Okay, we
as
got-
recorded by
Second.
Allison.
All right, all those in favor? Was it roll call?
Yeah,
Um,
Yes, Jack Moran?
Debbie Call, yes?
Courtney Briley, yes.
All right, that's been approved. Minutes have been approved for 9/7/2023. The next meeting date is gonna be the joint meeting of the trust on November 16th.
Well,
at
do you
7.
want to do, so you guys want to do
Yes.
that one as the next one and then like try to meet after, following that? Or do you want to try to meet before that? And what,
I mean, if we meet after that, at least we can figure out everything. My opinion is, well, then you're into Thanksgiving and everything else. So if we meet before, then we don't have the information from the trust.
No, but we
That's what
still,
we're doing.
a
We can
lot of
still
other
meet.
things, but
Yeah, we can still meet in November. It's a trust is on the 16th, so November 9th, a week before. Just putting that out, the November 9th is on a Thursday
Mhm.
at 6 PM. Do we want to meet a week before the trust
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea so that we
Okay.
can make sure that we are
on the
On
same
the same
page?
page.
Yeah.
Prepared for that meeting.
prepared,
Okay,
yeah.
so we'll do it on November 9th. What do we need to ask about the room for November 9th at 6 PM? Allison?
Allison, do you think you could find out, on November 9th, if we'd be able to meet here, after, you can do that after tomorrow or
Yes.
something?
Okay,
Yep, I will schedule that for you.
okay, thank you.
That would be great.
And it's gonna be strictly preparing for the meeting, the following with the trust.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Okay, so November 9th, okay. Alright.
Can I just
Mhm.
Yeah.
raise a thought?
Go
It's
ahead.
not on the agenda, but it kind of relates to some of that earlier discussion, just the way
Mhm.
I'm still thinking about things, but I think you mentioned that Groton has a relationship with Littleton and Acton.
Westford, I think
Westford,
I think she
okay.
said Westford and Littleton
So
when I talked to her.
are they working together?
So I wasn't totally clear on it. What she had said was there's like a housing administrator
Hmm.
that is, I think it was, she said administrator that was, kind of did all three.
Yeah,
And so I'm not exactly sure in terms of like how I assume she must push information back to them, and I don't exactly know how that works.
Sure.
Because she's specifically Groton. But it sounds like they at least have like some resource that's able to,
larger than their own.
larger than their own.
place.
And I believe we've talked about this with Pepperell before, and there was
Yeah.
some reason that we couldn't actually be in Pepperell, and there was some
Yeah.
district thing, and that's where I'm getting lost on like what,
Yeah.
there was some reason that we were not able to do it with Pepperell,
Yeah.
even though we've talked about it. If there was some way that we could also combine an effort with another town to try to maybe get some better traction on things. And I
Yeah,
believe
to get some
Pepperell was
leverage and
out,
scale
yeah.
to bring to, so like the idea of standing up the process of taking managerial control, it's something that seems desirable, but to go it alone as a small town. it's
Is
tough.
hard.
But if you have,
Yeah.
so that's maybe the sort of thing that an association, I think, might
Might
be
be
able
able to
to
help
really be
us with.
helpful. And,
Yeah.
you know, also maybe, you know, additional conversation with
Yeah.
Scott
Yeah,
in contact, but. you know,
Definitely. I think the other thing,
If I
just
can find out a little more about that.
that'd be
angle,
great,
maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the important part with what Fran had said about funding, if you are able to find anything out, if anybody has heard a similar story, and that if the town wants to keep control, that it's harder to fund those projects, it'd be interesting to hear their perspective on that, a different
Okay.
perspective on that, if that
Great.
is truly the case.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the regional schools set up
Mhm.
where, you know,
Mhm.
you give a little control, but in response, the other side of it is, you know,
Yeah, you get some
everyone
help,
doesn't need
right?
to have their own independent high school, which
Right,
isn't going to be anywhere near the
right.
scale.
But I think with Pepperell, I think it had something to do with HUD.
That's
Wasn't
what
it?
I thought,
It was-
yeah,
yeah,
it
it
was
was-
something, there was some
Laura
reason that we
knew
couldn't,
HUD.
do it,
Different-
yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
All right,
Laura
now
talked
I'm
about
really
it.
interested.
And I don't know, I
Yeah.
don't know enough about the story, I
I'm
have to
funded by
say.
So.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can
So
find out.
we definitely talked about this
Mhm.
previously, so I wonder if it's back in like some earlier meeting minutes,
Mhm.
because somebody talked to Pepperell, I believe it was Lori,
Lori did,
talked with
yes.
Pepperell
Yeah.
and about this same
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was somewhere around this time last year, and I
Mhm.
could be wrong.
Okay,
Yeah.
So Allison, I don't know if you happen to have the ability to look, or I don't know if there's like a server somewhere that you can look back in like some meeting minutes over last year and to see if you can find anything that's mentioned about Pepperell.
HUD.
And about their housing authority or anything like that.
Yeah.
In the older, I can try to look through my emails too and find them, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
we've had the conversation, so at least
Yeah.
try to
Interesting.
get you the late, the best information we have at the moment.
Yeah.
But I know that there was a conversation that was had with Pepperell.
Yeah,
Do,
definitely.
I will absolutely look. Do you know, like, roughly when
I-
maybe?
I was thinking it might have been around this time last year, but it's
Okay.
definitely, I believe, within like this year.
Yeah.
From about
Okay.
now till then. I don't think it was before that, but yeah,
Anything, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will take a look for you.
thank you.
We got anything else? Anybody else? All right, call the meeting, we need a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to
Motion.
adjourn.
Need a second? All those in favor, roll call.
Jack Ryan, aye.
Courtney Briley, aye.
And we call yes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
much,
you.
Allison, Jody, and Hartley. Thank you so much. Meeting adjourned.